Good morning, hello, welcome to yet another episode of Redstone Lapis Lazuli. It is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, and I'm really late. Hello, good morning. Hello, I am really late. Look at that new moon rising. I see a new moon rising. Yeah. Hey, good morning. Sorry, I had to wait for my coffee to hurry up. I slept in a little bit. I slept in a lot. But it was good. It was good. It was good for me to sleep in. Be nice to myself every once in a while. And sleeping in was one of it. Because you know what? I figured out like no one actually watches my show while I'm streaming it. Or very, very few people. Because I stream it like 8 in the morning on Sunday. Like everyone's at church or asleep. like humans ought to be. So I was only waking up at 8 a.m. because it used to be that was my partner's time. And now my partner isn't my partner anymore. So like I don't really have to start at this time. I just do because it's habit. But today I wanted to sleep in, and so I did. It was nice. And then it takes a little while to make the coffee, and I can't do the show without coffee. So, all right, the thing I've been working on is this. It looks a bit funny, right? It looks a bit weird right now. You can't even see it really. And let me. Ow. You can't even really see it. But it's the roots and then the trunk, and then I'm gonna do the tree of the tree up here. Yeah. And then I'll have the roots come down into the roots will come down into the earth. And I will like work that out. But here, let me sleep because it's dark and you can't see anything. Good morning. Yeah, I'm way late. It's okay. I slept in, and it was really nice. And then my cats have to eat. Like if I don't feed my cats, they get increasingly vocal about it. So I had to feed my cats. And yeah, and then I had to get the coffee. Then I had to set up everything. Like all right, I'm here though. Good morning. I'm using a different texture pack today. I'm using Truly Vanilla, I think. Here, let me. What am I using? Settings. Global. Vanilla RTX normals is what I'm using. Because I was using the other one defined, but it kept crashing. Probably because it was like burning up my video card. If I would have more modest settings, I think it would not burn it up. But I set this thing as pretty demanding, and I don't want to mess with it. So I just used a different texture pack, and this is a really nice texture pack. I like how this one looks. Like it looks kind of like it's not too crazy with the coloring and stuff. And underwater looks like somewhat normal. It's not all freaked out. I'm gonna get out of here. Look at me with my Totem of Undying. Afraid? Are you fearful? Yes, I am, actually. So, buddy, get out of here. You guys aren't welcome. Get out. Get out of here. Scram. I gotta figure out how to stop these guys from spawning. I've been working on that. It's a project. I'm still working on it. Oh yeah, hey, you can see stuff now. It's daytime. Let me go show you what I'm doing. All right, so yeah, this is gonna be a big tree, and it serves no function really. It serves no function. I'm putting it over the iron farm. I'm making it out of dark wood, so it stands out from the other wood here. And it serves no function other than to look cool. So that's what I'm gonna do. But then I realized it kind of does serve a function. It puts into scale all the landscape, the new landscape. I kind of dig the new landscape. I mean, yeah, before it was cool with the ocean and stuff, but it was all flat. And now the world is like, it feels like a world. It feels more realistic. Okay, that dirt though, right? Let me see if I can get it. Any more over there? I don't think so. So this part's different for me because I'm not usually into like creative building. Oh yeah, there's a dirt right there. One more right there. Hey, easy peasy. I thought that was gonna be hard. And it would be if it wasn't for my handy dandy elytra and these rockets. And this tree is in the way. I gotta move this tree or get it out of the way. So yes, what a fantastic happy Sunday morning. Yesterday, the Proud Boys had a rally in downtown Salem, and some intrepid reporters went down to observe them. But I did not go, and there was no counter demonstrations because what the Proud Boys feed off of is the counter demonstrations. They pretty much copied the style of Antifa. Antifa was wearing shields to defend against police beating them and helmets. and the Proud Boys like copied it, not to defend themselves against the police, but to better beat up people they called Antifa. So Proud Boys are just a gang. And they had a rally downtown, and like no one except losers went, and insurrectionists and white supremacists. So yeah, I don't know what happened because I didn't go, and I didn't really pay that much attention. Come on, leaves, you have to decay. Decay in a timely fashion. So I can see what I'm working on. Actually, I should, I don't even want to use the same leaves because then it won't stand out. It'll blend right into the rest of the background. I need to go get leaves from a whole other forest. But the problem is, like, I don't want to, it's a bunch of work. Actually, no. If I use, what's it called? If I use leaves from birch, there's a whole birch forest over there. And birch trees are easy to cut down because they're not tall. So they're easy. And then I can get all the leaves easily. And I'll decorate this with birch leaves. Because they're easy to get. Dark oak leaves, I can't get massive amounts of them. I mean, maybe I could. Depends on how hard I want to work. Well, the problem is dark oaks are hard to reproduce. So I don't want to take their leaves. I want them to break so I can try to get as many saplings as possible. Whereas birch are easy to reproduce. So I don't mind chopping down all their trees because I can replant them easy. Alright, so now you can see it better. Oh yeah, I can see it a lot better without that tree in the way. Yeah, alright. I gotta work on the sides of the roots, the 4 legs. It looks a bit rough. And probably the roots in general. The whole chamber needs to be worked on. But it's a start, and then this is kind of skinny, I guess, for a trunk. Oh well, whatever. I don't care. No, it's gonna be close enough. All right. I like those mountains in the background. There's 3. 1, 2. Well, I don't know if that's a mountain, but like 1 for sure. 1, and then that one over there 2. That one over there looks like to me a volcano, like an extinct volcano. Because look at it. It's just a big, massive, like Mount St. Helens has a big gaping hole in the side of it where it blew out the side of itself to explode. Yeah, but then up here it's like an entire grove. I can just chill up here. Like, look at this place. It's nice. And then over there's another mountain. Whoa! Like, how would you get from one to the other? That looks like really cool. No! That looks pretty cool. I feel like a mountain climber. Look at that nether gate up there. What is that? At the top of a mountain. There's a broken nether portal. Fire charges. I mean, like, I can almost remake this. Ow. What? Like, what's hitting me? Ah! Oh, it's hot under the snow. All right, so that's the blown out mountain with that's Mount St. Helens. So if I want to go home, I go that way. Okay, where's the hole? Right there. There's the hole, which means my house is that way. What kind of person goes deep underground and go to sleep? All right. So yeah, that's about it in Minecraft. I haven't really done a whole lot of work. I mean, I did, right? It took me a long time to gather all this wood. Like that wood didn't just come from nowhere. I had to go chop down forests to get it. So yeah, okay. But we should talk about what's going on in the United States. Well, in the United States, but also what's going on in the world. Like some pretty big things are going on in the world. Let's see. What maps do I have here? What do I got going? This one, NATO troops versus Russian troops. So this guy right here, his name is Luke Coffey, said there are more Russian troops outside Russia in countries bordering NATO than there are U.S. troops outside the U.S. in countries bordering Russia. So here's the map. U.S. troops vastly outnumbered by Russian troops outside Russia's border. U.S. troops in Norway and Poland number less than 7,000, far fewer than the 48,000 Russian troops that are, for all intents and purposes, permanently stationed outside its borders on NATO's perimeter. So these are all NATO nations. Like I didn't know these nations right here were in NATO, but but okay, cool. So these guys are all in NATO. They're in NATO. So these are the NATO troops outside. They're in NATO, right? NATO troops are in NATO. These are Russian troops. But here's Russia. So Russian troops outside of Russia. There's a whole bunch of Russian troops sitting in Ukraine right now because they invaded Ukraine. Oh, look, they're also in Moldova, that little country right next to Ukraine. I didn't realize that. So Russia is like really like just eating away at Europe, bit by bit. And oh, they're down here too. Check it out. So here's another map I like to look at. I use. I like this map because it uses the country's names by what they call themselves. Well, almost. Well, yeah, Deutschland, United Kingdom, España, Savage. Oh, I don't know the rest. But yeah, that must. So this is Ukraine. This is Ukraine, and this is Belarus. So we're looking here at Russian tactical. The red, these are all Russian military assets, and the blue and purple are NATO military assets. So Russia says, "Hey, NATO, we're going to invade Ukraine unless you take your troops and move them away from the border with Russia." So the deal is then, I guess, NATO is going to be like, okay, Russia, we will move our troops away from the border with Russia when Russia moves its troop away from the border with NATO. So do you think Russia wants to move its troops? So Russia says, we want you to do something that we don't want to do. So it's all in Russia's court at this time. If Russia decides it wants to withdraw its troops, then things will de-escalate. But I think Russia really wants to push. Putin is being super aggressive right now. So yeah, Putin. Yeah, it's all in Putin's hands. How badly he wants to hurt the Russian people. So. Since 2008, the Russian Federation has committed acts of armed aggression against the people of Georgia, Ukraine, Syria, and now Kazakhstan. Moscow is waging hybrid war against many other countries, notably the United States, We're in the middle of an international global war. Putin has been engaged in political warfare against the West for a decade. It is a clear part of Kremlin doctrine. Our pretending that it doesn't exist just shows weakness and encourages him to push further. So, did you hear about what's happening in Kazakhstan? Do you know what Kazakhstan is? Kazakhstan. Borat. You know Borat. Same country, Kazakhstan. It used to be a former. It used to be subsumed under under USSR. It used to be like controlled by the USSR. Then it broke free and became an independent nation. Right? But you know what Putin's trying to do? Putin is trying to take over all the old countries that USSR used to control. So if he can't do it, he doesn't want to do it militarily because that's too obvious and too open. So instead, he tries to do it politically. He sends in a puppet. So he tried to do it to Ukraine, right? He had a puppet, a guy in there who was pro-Russia and anti-EU. And he was very corrupt. And the people of Ukraine didn't like him, so they had a big rebellion to kick him out. And like after much fighting, they kicked him out, and it was good. So that happened in Ukraine. It happened in Belarus too. In Belarus, the people voted for democracy, for a president. His name was Alexander Levensky or something. Levowski. No. I can look it up. But he wanted to go closer to the EU. So Russia staged a coup and overthrew the election and installed a Russian puppet. Well, they did the same thing in Ukraine, or they tried to do it to Ukraine. They did it in Belarus. They did it in that little tiny country, Moldova, whatever that's at. I don't know where it's at anymore. And they're doing it in Kazakhstan, which is, I think it's over here more on that side. So Russia is overthrowing all these governments all over the place, trying to stop them from being democratic and independent. And now they're threatening to invade Poland. Well, yeah, they're threatening to invade Poland, and they're threatening to invade Ukraine. So remember that Poland and all those countries are in NATO, which means if they get attacked, it means we get attacked, and we have to respond accordingly. So that's just to let Putin, to remind Putin about what he's doing here. That he's messing with the whole block. Not just one little country, but the whole block. Now, Ukraine, has been bullied for so long, I think it wants to join NATO after a while. Because it's getting messed with. But not anyone can just join NATO. You have to apply for it, and you have to be a democratic nation, and you cannot be corrupt. Because if you're corrupt, then you're just going to drag the rest of the alliance into a war that unnecessarily. So NATO doesn't want corruption, which, works both ways, United States. So yeah, that's what's going on on the European side. But what's going on here in the United States? This guy right here, Scott McFarlane from McFarlane News, and he's verified, says that Rep. Jamie Raskin told him that there were prime time hearings are possible in February, and the hope is to wrap up work by summer. So the whole January 6th commission, they want to move this to prime time in the middle of the day, so everyone can watch it. Everyone, what they should do is do a lockdown. Do a lockdown, pay people to stay home, and then do this primetime hearing so everyone can sit home and watch it while it happens. That's what they should be doing. That would be a great way. Because there's still a large chunk of people who don't understand that January 6, 2021 was an insurrection and Donald Trump is a traitor. They don't understand it yet. So, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But there are things going on here in the United States. Yeah, here we go. So remember, John Wilkes Booth thought he was a patriot, but he was not. Lee Harvey Oswald thought he was a patriot. He was not. 3%ers, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Ku Klux Klan members, they think they're patriots, but they are not. Everyone who stormed the U.S. Capitol thinks they are patriots. They are not. All these people are the same bird. They are domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorists. They are all fighting violence in arms to stop multiracial democracy. They all have the same goal. They all have the same goal. They all want to stop multiracial democracy. Every single one of them want to stop multiracial democracy. Every single one of these people want to stop multiracial democracy. They're joined together by the singular goal of stopping multiracial democracy. Why? Because multiracial democracy threatens white supremacy. So therefore, in service to white supremacy, all these groups are domestic terrorists who employ violence to stop multiracial democracy. It's very, very clear. You have to have a very clear understanding of what's going on in our country right now. Like I said before, we're at a cusp. We're at a cusp. Right? United States, the destiny of the United States is to become a multiracial country, multiracial democracy, in a country in which no one group has more than 50%. Therefore, ethno-nationalism cannot work because in a multiracial society, no one group has the majority. So ethno-nationalism just doesn't work. Well, that's the direction the United States is moving, right? How awesome is that? The establishment of a multiracial democracy in the modern world, that will be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. The amount of energy that we're going to release when we fuse, because that's what it basically is. It's basically the social version of fusion. We're gonna start fusing together into a whole. And the white supremacists don't want this to happen. They're going to do everything they can to stop this from happening. But when it happens, it's going to happen, we're going to fuse, and it's going to release a ridiculous amount of energy. We're going to have so much energy that those things we thought were impossible are going to be commonplace. We're going to get universal health care. We're going to get it so everyone's taken care of. We're going to get it so that everyone has a home to live in. We're going to get there. It's going to happen. It's possible with multiracial democracy. It's not possible under white supremacy. It's not possible under oligarchy, under rule of power. You can't do it with rule of power, but you can do it with multiracial democracy. Why do you think all these people are fighting so hard to make it happen? Because they believe in it, because it works, because it's real. It's not just hooey, woo woo, I believe, pie in the sky. It's real. It's actual. All we got to do is make it. It's 80,000 BC. 80,000 BC. You are immortal. You will never die. Ha ha ha. Ouch. Okay. The world is still frozen in an ice age. Whoosh. The woolly mammoths are walking by. The saber-toothed tigers are looking at you funny, but they can't eat you because you never die, right? So you're like, the cavemen are like looking at you funny. You decide, I'm going to save $10,000 every day in the year 80,000 BC during the Ice Age with the mammoths and the saber-toothed tigers. You're going to save $10,000 every day, never spending any money. 82,021 years later, it is 2021. You save $10,000 every single day for 80,000 years. You still do not have as much money as Elon Musk. Elon Musk popped into the world and just stole a bunch of money. You don't have as much money as Elon Musk. You have been saving money for $10,000 every day since 80,000 BC, and you have never, ever died. You've worked 80,000 years saving $10,000. You do not have as much money as Elon Musk. That is a broken ass system. When we fix that system and put that money instead into us, into our well-being, into our healthcare, into our housing, into our education, we are going to become amazing. We will become unmanageable, ungovernable. But that's the point. We won't need it. You know how fusion works? Do you know how fusion works? Fusion gets things so hot, it becomes a plasma, and it becomes hotter than the sun. You know that nuclear explosion happening millions of miles in space? Like so far away that we have to wait 8 minutes for the light to get here? Traveling at light speed? It's a nuclear explosion. We can make something here on Earth hotter than what the sun does. It's so hot that you can't touch it. Anything that touches it is going to melt, obviously, right? Obviously, if it's hotter than the sun, if you try to hold it, it's just going to melt to nothing. How do you contain something like that? How do you control something so hot that is hotter than the sun? What do you do for that? You can't actually hold it because it'll melt. What they do is like magic. They use magnets to like levitate the stuff because you can't touch it, right? You can't even go near it because it's hotter than the sun. So they use magnets to levitate it so that nothing actually touches it. It's just floating there. And it's real hard. You ever try to put two magnets together and they just like slip apart? Well, try doing that with like little balls of like superheated plasma, hotter than the sun. If it flies off, a pellet of like superheated like magma flying through the air. I don't want to be anywhere near that. Imagine cleaning that up. Likewise for society. When we get to the point when we start to fuse, it will be that you cannot use violence, coercion to control people. You can't do it. Because it goes against freedom. Like violence and coercion go against the notion of freedom. So we have to be at the point where we won't need violence and it'll be at the point where we won't need violence and coercion to make things happen. We won't need violence and coercion. The fusion will happen without violence and coercion. You can't use violence. In fact, it's counterintuitive. You can't use violence and coercion because if you try, you'll wreck the whole thing. Like if you try to contain with physical the plasma, you'll wreck the whole thing. It'll all just melt down. You can't do it. You can't do it. It has to be another way. Like almost like magic. But remember, there's a group of people fighting very, very hard to stop this from happening. This person right here on the day of the insurrection thinks she's a patriot. She thinks she's a patriot. But what is she really? She's a domestic terrorist. This domestic terrorist is in Congress right now. And she tries to sneak in guns into the chamber all the time so that Nancy Pelosi had to install metal detectors because she kept trying to sneak in guns. She and a bunch of other people. They're domestic terrorists. We're fighting a wave of domestic terrorists of white supremacists. So here's an example, right? Here's that same domestic terrorist, right? That's Boebert. That's Lauren Boebert. And here she is indoctrinating her children into white supremacy. These are all firearms. What do firearms have to do with Christmas? Weapons of war and death. What did that have to do with anything about the holidays? Nothing. But they have a lot to do with white supremacy, which is what she's doing. She's indoctrinating her kids into race theory. Not critical race theory, because to be critical of race theory is something different. No, she's giving them straight up vanilla race theory where she's telling them white people are better than all other races and they have to enforce that with guns. That's the United States. The United States is a white supremacist society that has to enforce white supremacy with guns. Don't believe me? Watch that movie Django Unchained. You will see in the South, all the white guys all got guns. To why? Why do they all have guns? Why do they all need guns? To enforce white supremacy. So she's teaching her kids here to enforce white supremacy. And this kid, look at this kid. All he wants, he's a kid. I'm not going to blame the kids. No, they're trying to make mom, they want mom to love them. They want mom to be happy with them. They're just trying to be good sons to their mom. So I don't blame the kids, but this is how white supremacy is reproduced, right? The parents indoctrinate their children into white supremacy. The kids are innocent. Look at them. Look at these kids, right? They're not born racist. They're not born hating people. They're taught to hate people from their parents. It's indoctrination into white supremacy from their parents. Here's another one, right? Here's another version of indoctrination into white supremacy. This guy right here, associating white violence and death with the holidays, right? So they're associating white supremacy with the holidays. They all are displaying that they will kill to enforce white supremacy for the holidays. They're white supremacists, right? It's real clear that they're all trying to stop the emergence of multiracial democracy. It's super clear. It's the message I've been trying to tell people since the beginning. So they've tried to violently overthrow the government on January 6th, and now they're trying to legally overthrow the government by taking over key positions in state governments that deal with the elections, so that when the time comes and an election result comes that they don't like, they can just get rid of it and overturn the election and install whoever they want. In a way, these white supremacists are allied. In a way, this white supremacist is allied with Putin. Remember when Donald Trump extorted the president of Ukraine to help basically he helped Putin weaken Ukraine. Well, we impeached Donald for that, say that's a crime. Lauren Boebert said, no, that's not a crime. She's with Putin. She's with Putin. She voted to protect Donald, who protected Putin. She's with Putin. She's a domestic terrorist. This guy here, domestic terrorist. Domestic terrorist all the way. So here's the deal, right? In the United States, what's working out, the shakeout here, is the idea of how do we allocate our resources? We have two ideas, but now we have a limited number of resources. Where do we put these resources? To the manifestation of these two ideas, which are opposite. One idea is of control, and violence and concentration of wealth and power. And the other idea is spreading out the wealth, releasing the power and investing it back into the people by spreading the wealth and services into the people. Two opposite directions. You can't serve both at the same time. So let me give you an example of what's going on. Now, but like, what does that mean? Let me focus it down. Let me focus it way, way, way down. I'm going to focus it way down. So this is talking about the city of Salem, Oregon, where I live. I pay taxes to the city of Salem, where I live. I step outside my door, I'm in Salem. You know, when Proud Boys come to attack my city, it's Salem they're attacking. I'm in it. So Jim Schlepp reports, if you didn't watch the first budget committee meeting last night, here's the first of two key takeaways from the presentation by the acting chief budget officer. This is what the general fund looks like. The police and fire departments consume nearly 60% of all general fund revenue, and they both want more. They put the squeeze on everything else. It's called opportunity costs. So the fire department, right, and the police department, by far, those are the two of the biggest departments that we have. Fire department, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, you can't not have a fire department. And that might get worse with climate change. You can't cut back on the fire department. But the police department, look at how huge that is. It's a ginormous part of that budget. And it wants to get bigger. How can it get bigger? It can only get bigger if you eat up the rest of the pie, if you reduce everything else. Well, what is everything else that gets reduced? The courts, the parks and recreation, the library, the computers, the support systems for the people, the community development and urban development and facility services to keep the buildings up and running nice. Like, basically stuff that helps us. To help the police, we have to cut out stuff that helps us. That's awful. Why? Well, here's the second big takeaway. Salem has a long-term structural deficit. We're losing money. The city of Salem is going to lose money. We're getting worse and worse and worse. The way it's set up now is that we're going to be broke in a number of years. We're going to be broke. So whatever we're doing is not working because we're going to get broke. If nothing changes, so Salem has a long-term structural deficit with projected costs outpacing projected revenue. If nothing changes, our city could be heading into the red in 5 years. We have 5 years. And despite this, our police chief wants a dramatic increase to his already the largest per capita in the state staff. And our fire chief wants to open 2 new fire stations. Go figure. So there's what it looks like. So the blue is revenues and the gray is expenditures. So starting fiscal year 2013, we start like cratering. And our costs go up. So the police chief wants to increase the number of his staff. We've got the most per capita, but he wants even more. Okay, now what was the other thing? Did I not pull it up? Okay, I didn't pull it up. I gotta do this. Now everything I'm talking about only matters if I do this other part. So let me pull that up. So the police and the fire department are sucking up all the money. So we should look into this. There's a program called Cahoots. Basically, it's a crisis center. It's a crisis line. So what that does is, instead of sending, when someone has a mental health crisis, instead of sending the police, you send cahoots, and they will talk to the people, and instead of arresting them or shooting them like the police does, the cahoots people give them the support services they need to help the person out, so that the crisis is averted and everyone is safe. And there was a blog from Hindsight saying Counselor Nordyke is pushing hard for this mobile crisis unit to come into existence in Salem. It's a way of addressing our budget problem. Not every mental health crisis requires law enforcement. Marion County needs a crisis response team that doesn't involve police, not as a replacement, but as a complement. This kind of program could save significant money for law enforcement agencies and taxpayers in Marion County. It would allow Marion County Regional Transport and Community Crisis Outreach Services to better address public safety concerns by focusing on the more serious situations where we need law enforcement to protect everyone involved. The money we save could be used to hire additional deputies. No, not to hire additional deputies, but improve community policing. So this program, Cahoots, already exists in Eugene, Oregon, and it already saves them a ton of money. It's already a success. It already happens. We already have it. I don't know why we haven't done it here in Salem. Vanessa Nordyke, she's pushing to make it happen. I need to support her 100%. Because she's right. She's absolutely right. She looked over and Eugene said, hey, they're saving money and get good results that way. We should do that here. We need to do that here because we're going to lose money. And the police wants to eat up more money. No, go the opposite. So that's an example. The police is an example of concentrating wealth and power into the hands of the few. Vanessa Nordyke is an example, and the Cahoots, the crisis response team, is an example of spreading the wealth into the community. By spreading the wealth into the community, you save money, you empower individuals, and you raise the dignity of the society. It's like there's only two directions we can go in. It's important, it's incumbent upon you as individuals to learn to distinguish between your choices so that you can act accordingly. In a way, you probably already made your choice about which side you want to protect, which side you want to go on. You've probably already chosen if you want to concentrate wealth and power or if you want to spread it out for everyone. Now, your whole life is the understanding of the choice you've made. You've already made the choice. Now you've got to come to understand what it is that you've chosen. And it may take you your whole life to understand it. And you may never understand it. But those who do understand their choice, you can see who they are because they act decisively. And they act effectively. And they have no confusion about things. So what's the next part? Oh yeah, the next part I wanted to show you is this. So, what happened? Okay, so we already know that the police cost a bunch of money. But then we found out in the Salem Reporter that the Salem police are a poor use of resources. When the police show up, because they had to do a study by a Missouri-based team of former law enforcement, was required as part of a settlement. So they did a story about this and found out that whenever the police showed up, they cost more money and they ended up with more violence and more dead people and more people arrested than when a crisis response team showed up. When the crisis response team showed up, it worked out every time. There was never, ever a thing of violence with the crisis response team. So it's just better. It's just better every single way to have a crisis response team. This is how ideas that seem wispy out there, how they come down to be local and actual and real and come down to right here, right now. Right here, right now in my very town, this is the battle we're fighting. So when I say defund the police, that's what I'm talking about. Don't fund them. Don't give them money. Instead, put the money somewhere else. The money you save from not putting it into police, don't put it back into the police. Put it somewhere else into the community. That's how you get a strong community. A strong community that has no material deficits has way less crime and much better health outcomes. It's better for everyone. Stronger families, stronger community, everything's better. The only way you could be against this is if you're a white supremacist and are against multiracial democracy. That's the only way you could be against it. What else do I got here? So, but you have to remember, right? I keep saying white supremacy. It's a big deal. White supremacy is encoded in our DNA of our country. We cannot get rid of our history of white supremacy. It's still here today. Here, let's look. The number one thing, if you're going to be part of the United States, the number one thing you have to remember. Thank you, Mr. Lakota man. America, built by stolen people on a land stolen from a people. The United States is materially based on slavery and genocide. Materially based. You can't get away from it. You cannot do it. If you remove slavery and genocide from the history of the United States, then there is no United States. It is the material basis. It is the foundation upon which this country was created. I got this book right here. And I need to read it more. But the first thing I got in it was a poem. Where was it? It read about No, it wasn't a poem. It was it tells about the first ship that landed here. It wasn't the Mayflower. The White Lion. It was the White Lion. So I didn't know this. But in 1619, a Portuguese man of war, a Portuguese ship, had a bunch of human cargo that it was going to deliver, and it got attacked by privateers, by English privateers, pirates. Pirates attacked it and stole the ship from the Portuguese. And then the pirates landed the ship in Virginia in 1619 and offloaded their human cargo. Who was their human cargo? Africans who were enslaved. And chained up and enslaved and survived the horrible sea trip across the ocean. And then with their labor, with the enslaved Africans, they used the enslaved Africans to literally create the settlement where the enslavers lived. They literally created the place and literally made the food and literally did the work. They literally created the land. They literally created, or not the land, but the cultivated the land, the conditions. They literally made it. So it is literally the foundation. You can't get away from it. And if you get away from it, you've already started down the dark path of white supremacy. If you try to deny that, then you've already started down the dark path of white supremacy, because that's where it leads to. Because once you've denied the material basis of the United States, you've lost truth. You're not anchored to anything. You're just floating on whatever wispy words will make you feel good. From the moment it was created, or from the moment it declared independence, the United States was destined to be a multiracial democracy. From the moment it declared independence, It set itself upon the path to be a multiracial democracy. It had no choice. Because you cannot declare freedom for white man and deny it to everyone else. You cannot do it. Because the same thing that gave the white man his freedom is what gives everyone else their freedom. By virtue of being human. Virtue of being human. White man didn't just become free because of virtue of being white man. White man became free because white man said, hey, I'm a human. And humans have reason. And through reason, I'm emancipating myself. Well, great. That works for everyone else too, not just white men. That works for everyone else. And if you try to deny it to everyone else, then you deny it to yourself. That's why they need guns to enforce it. Because it's not true. Because white supremacy is not true. So they need guns to enforce it. If it were true, why would they need guns? Why do they need to have a gun? It's not true. White supremacy is not true. So in order to enforce the falsehood, they use violence through guns. And they were in the state. So that's the problem, right? So yeah, we had an abolition movement in the United States. Some people gained enough consciousness to realize that enslaving humans was a bad deal and that we can't do this. So they fought and they struggled and they resisted, and eventually it came to a head when the white supremacists attacked the United States. The white supremacists got together, attacked the United States, declared their own government, tried to get away, didn't work. The United States sent armies and occupied their states, but then they sent an assassin to assassinate the president of the United States. And then the person who took over the presidency from Abraham Lincoln, his name was Andrew Johnson, and he was very, very sympathetic to the South. He was a white supremacist. He was very, very sympathetic to the South. So he let all the white supremacist Confederates, all the terrorists, he let them back into the government. And they have never went away since. They never went away. They have always been back inside the United States government. Like, it was subsumed. It was hard to see them. Like, it was, it wasn't all clear cut at first. It took a while to shake out, but eventually it got to the point where we could see the white supremacists never left the federal government. So that's where we're at right now. And even Lincoln himself wasn't the best guy. Ooh, I heard a noise. That's an Enderman. That's an Enderman noise. I'm gonna go hunt Enderman. Any food up here? So the United States government has been not such a great partner. And it's because of white supremacy. Its failure to be a good partner is because of its white supremacy inside of it. If it would not have white supremacy, it would be a better partner. Let me give you an example. Oh, geez. Oh, man. Here, rotate. How do I rotate image? Rotate left. Oh, there we go. Okay. So the Indians. I got this part from this book. The Indians hear a treaty speech in 1855. The American troops arrived. They spoke as follows. Yakat. Now we will give you quantities of money and all sorts of things. So then you will not be poor. All your tribes people will be just like Americans. You will be given everything. Property such as cattle, horses, wagons, blankets, breeches, hats, coats, overcoats, quantities of flour, sugar, coffee. You will be given food for 5 years. The Americans will watch over you. They will make your fences. They will plow your land. They will fence your land. They will make your houses. They will build a hammer house, a blacksmith shop. A man will come who knows how to make all sorts of things, a blacksmith. He will fix your wagon for you if it should break. He will make you the handle of your ground breaker, your plow. He will fix it at cost. The great headman, the government of the United States, symbolized in the president, will pay for it. Whatever you may desire, he will make it. A trading house, a store will be built. You may obtain there whatever you wish. An iron house, a blacksmith shop, will be erected to repair what has gotten spoiled. Whatever sort of iron thing you may want, you will not have to pay for it. There will be erected a paper book house, a book house, a school building. Your children will read from the paper book. This is the way they will do like Americans. 20 acres will be given to each person, native. As long as you remain on the place, then it will be your own place. The great headman, the United States and its president, will give it to you to be your own place. After 20 years, the last payment for your place will cease, and then no one will be necessary to watch over you. You will take care of your own heart. You will then be no longer be a government ward. This is how you will be then, just like an American. So this is what they promised, right? The troops promised the natives that they will be given all this stuff and that people will work for them. Basically, they were promised to be like a plantation, almost like a plantation for what, 5 years? Food for 5 years, and then this for 20 years. So they were promised pretty much to be set up a plantation. Each person got set up a plantation for 20 years in 1855. But what actually happened? 1869, right? This is like 15 years later. And the chief is talking about what happened. Let me get out of here. It's too loud. I can't hear with all that bum, bum, bum. Shush. Okay. I am watching your eye. I am watching your tongue. I am thinking all the time. Perhaps you are making fools of us. We don't want to be made fools of. I have heard chiefs talk like you do now. They go back home and send us something a white man don't want. We are not dogs. We have hearts. We may be blind. We do not see the things the treaty promised. Maybe they got lost on the way. The president is a long way off. He can't hear us. Our words get lost in the wind before they get there. Maybe his ear is small. Maybe your ears are small. They look big. Our ears are large. We hear everything. Some things we don't like. We have been a long time in the mud. Sometimes we sink down. Some white men help us. Some white men stand on our heads. We want a schoolhouse built on the ground of the Santiam people. Then our children can have some sense. We want an Indian to work in the blacksmith shop. We don't like half-breeds. They are not Indians. They are not white men. Their hearts are divided. We are not Indians. Or they are not Indians. They are not white men. Their hearts are divided. We want some harness. We want some plows. We want a sawmill. What is a mill good for that has no dam? That old mill is not good. It won't saw boards. We want a church. Some of these people are Catholics. Some of them are like Mr. Parrish, a Methodist. Some got no religion. Maybe they don't need religion. Some people think Indians got no sense. We don't want any blankets. We have a heap of blankets. Some of them have been like sailcloth muslin. The old people have got no sense. They want blankets. The treaty said, every man has his land. He have a paper for his land. We don't see the paper. We see the land. We want it divided. When we have the land all in one place, some Indian put his horses in the field. Another Indian turned them out. Then they go to law. One man says another man got the best ground. They go to law about it. We want the land marked out. Every man builds his own house. We want some apples. Mark out the land. Then we plant some trees by and by, then some apples. We have some apples. So he's saying, like, you guys promised us all the stuff, but there's no deed. You guys didn't set up anything. You didn't mark out anything. So since stuff isn't marked out, we're all fighting and have to argue with each other and go to the court. But the court doesn't have a deed, doesn't have a law. It's not marked out. They can't make an arbitration. They can't decide because you guys didn't mark anything out because you're full of shit. You guys promised all the stuff, but you guys didn't deliver. Maybe you don't like my talk. I talk straight. I am not a coward. I am chief of the Santiums. You hear me now. We see your eyes. Look straight. Maybe you are a good man. We will find out. Sochala Tai. God sees you. He sees us. All these people hear me talk. Some of them are scared. I am not afraid. Alta Kup Et. I am done. This is the legacy of white supremacy. What stopped those natives from getting what was promised to them? What stopped it? White supremacy. White supremacy says, oh, we don't have to keep our words with people who aren't white. That's what white supremacy says. So white supremacy weakens the United States. It doesn't help us. It doesn't make us stronger. It makes us weak. It makes us break our word. It makes us destroy our own communities. It makes us defeat our own people. Yeah, white supremacy is not serving the United States. It's not helping us. The idea is to stick together so that we can fuse. Fusion can happen. It can't happen with coercion or force. It has to happen through consciousness. So you can't force it. You have to teach people. And yeah, white supremacy is a real thing. It's a real force. It's really trying to attack us. It's really trying to kill us. It's more real, like you're more aware of it, the more it tries to attack you, the more it targets you. So yeah, if you're a white person and you say, oh, I don't see white supremacy, that's because it's not aimed at you. So let's wake up here. Let's stick together. Let's ask questions. Let's figure things out. And let's stay healthy. Get you a good mask. The government is failing on the national level. Like, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the coronavirus. Like, I know schools, for some reason, they sent back all the kids to schools. I think it's because they wanted to get the parents back to work to keep the economy going, which is crazy because you're sacrificing children to Mammon, to a demon, for money. You're sacrificing children to demons for money. Like, that's terrible. Like, kids aren't vaccinated. And even if they were, the vaccine isn't that great against this virus. The way we're going to defeat it is lock down again for another 2 weeks. And the way you lock down is by sending out stimulus checks to keep people floating while the virus dies out. Like, I can't believe that we're sacrificing kids for the economy. Like, I don't have kids. I'm not actually doing it. So I'm only hearing from Twitter, from the sides. But wow, it sounds bad. And it sounds like our hospitals are collapsing. So like, if you can all stay home and not go out and not expose people to diseases unnecessarily, wear a mask, that'd be great. And we're going to get through this, guys. We're going to get through this. We have to manifest multiracial democracy. The whole world is depending upon us. Like, that's really the only way we're going to handle climate change is by manifesting multiracial democracy. We won't be able to handle climate change until we get multiracial democracy. Because otherwise, the white supremacists are going to get in the way. So that's the way it is. Until next time, hang in there, guys. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be a tough summer, like or tough winter. I think you should sleep and take care of yourselves. Wintertime's a time for rest. Just like rest. Don't extend. Don't push too hard. Just take care of yourself and take care of your family and friends. Make sure your community's good. All right. Enough for me. That's done. Thanks for hanging out. Pogo Kiddo. Peace. Stop.